Hello everybody, Demon R or Red Mist here, and I've come on to do a live stream of track guide for the next DGT race, and the reason I'm doing it is because I know when I came and did a few laps here on Thursday night, I was going off all over the place because there's a lot of blind corners. However, I did manage to very quickly find myself some markers that helped me around this track massively. So that's what I'm going to try and kind of share. But also, I'm going to try and do this in a slightly different way, because I am aware that I've been saying to people recently, oh, that corner's third gear, that corner's fourth gear. But also, I have been telling people that the way I actually drive is, I don't think, oh, I need second gear for this corner. For me, it's how many upshifts and how many downshifts do I need to do. So, yes, I do know what gear I need, because that then tells me how many gears I need to go up or down. So I'm going to try and sort of mix those two together. I'm going to do an outlap, and I'm going to pick out, where I can, the marker points, which I'm using, which is very useful, and then I'll try and do a couple of laps. Now I'm going to go on to Bonnet View here. Not that I use it, it's just so that people can see a bit more. Okay, this white line that is on the track in front of me now, this white line is the marker point for turn 1. At this point I'll start lifting off, don't brake I don't think, but I'll start lifting off here, and I'm eventually fourth gear for this corner, which for me is down 2. And I am taking quite a wide entry in because I want to pinch the apex here and not earlier. And we're flat out at this point as well. Okay, we're blind over the hill, so for me here it's just crest of the hill, I want to be over to the right hand side. There's no other marker than that really. At the crest of the hill we want to be over to the right. You can stay next to this curb on the right hand side, but as we're turning around it, as soon as our wheel goes straight, so now, so just at the end of the curb, this is the point that I'm on the brakes for this next corner. And again, it should be down 2 for a third gear corner. And then I'm probably going to hold third gear around both of these left-handers. But it's at this point, when the wheel is straight, you want to be on the brakes and probably on them quite hard. If you're in the pack though, you can lift off earlier and still brake at this point, and you'll find you can still make the corner, and I'll get onto that a bit more as I'm doing laps. Okay, these two corners are evil little bastards, so don't go too fast on the way in, and keep hold of that third gear. We want to use all of the road if we can, so over to the curb, but as we get over to the curb, we want to be lifting off so that when we turn in at the end of the curb, the car will actually turn in and we can really use this part of the road, and we can go through here aggressively. Slower on the way in, faster on the way out. Okay, next corner is absolutely flat out, so the question is, where do you turn in? Well, just about the end of this curb on the right hand side. Now this may seem like it's way too fucking soon, but it all depends on how much steering angle you use. If you start turning in at this point and you hit the wall on the left, you know you've steered too much. So turn in at this point, but only steer enough to just clip the apex curb. So if you steer loads, you're going to go over here, but if you steer a little bit, you're going to just clip this curb nicely. A lot of people do turn in way too late for that corner and end up hitting the wall. This next right hander is absolutely flat out, but if you need to, do a courtesy lift. Be very careful of running wide, because if you hit that wall on the left, you're fucked. Okay, down here, this is a fantastic corner, but it's also a corner that's very easy to get it wrong. My marker here is that big, yellow, massive piece of AstroTurf. The braking point for me is about 2 car lengths before the end of that yellow AstroTurf, and it is hard on the brakes. Now you can do it on the inside, you can do it on the outside. That braking point will work in both situations. Again, it's fully getting the car slowed down is what gear you're going to take the corner. For me, by this point, I believe I'm going down 3 gears because I should be in 6th. I may be in 7th. If I'm in 7th, I'm going down 4. Okay, but as I do the laps, I will sort of mention about how many up, how many down in more detail. But it's the braking point that's the first thing to get correct. So as we're down here, so about here, hard on the brakes. That'll allow us to get off the brakes a little bit sooner, turn in around about the end of the curb, and ideally we want to position ourselves about here, and then we can absolutely nail it. 3rd gear on the exit. Mid-corner, it should feel like the car's bogging down a bit in 3rd. Do not drop it 2 seconds. If you do, you'll lose time, you may spin. Keep it in 3rd gear, or 4th if you need to. Okay, over the hill. Now we're into a section that I absolutely fucking hated until I kind of got the rhythm of it. Now this is where there's a lot of blind corners coming. Now to be honest, this first part is flat out, but we don't want to turn in too soon. Again, we can use the yellow marker on the right hand side, so just before that ends we can start turning in, and the aim is to just clip this curb like so. We'll stay flat out, do not get over the sausage curb, stay to the left of it, and now, so that bit's flat out, but now we're into the important bit. And what you can see directly in front of me, if you literally go from the front of my car where it says Demon R and just look straight up the screen, there's the edge of the track, there's the bit of the curb that curves round to the left, and there's a yellow wall in the background. Well, where the curb starts peeling away from this track and going off to the left is the point that I prepare the car for the next corner. So my marker point is the curb where the white line splits away from it. So this bit here. This is my marker point for the next right-hander. And the reason for this is if I lift off here, I can pretty much do this with almost no brakes. I can do one downshift and make sure I hit the curb on the right-hander. If I push it beyond this point, I'm going to have to brake harder later, and chances are I'm going to miss the apex curb. If you miss the apex curb, you're then going to struggle for the next left-hander. You're going to be going slower and slower and slower all the way through the next combination of corners, whereas you can actually get the car slowed down a little bit here, take the this right-hander quite fast, take the left-hander very fast, and then slow it down for the final right-hander. So we're lifting off at this point. I think we're in 7th gear, maybe 6th, so we're looking at 5th gear, so down 2, and we want to be clipping the curb over here. And by doing that, we can see the curb in front of us, right? And it's almost directly straight in front of us. So we can make sure we hit curb, as the car straightens up, do your last couple of downshifts for 3rd gear, and then make sure you don't get on the power too soon, but that you can get on the curb here and power out. Now I am absolutely pushing the limit of this and literally positioning myself on the exit of the corner round about here. If you get this wrong, you have to spot it very, very soon. But this is where the rhythm of the downshifts comes in quite critically. Now, obviously, I'm throwing this at you very quickly, but yeah, do your best. Okay, this curb on the left-hand side, this corner, I fucking hate this corner until I worked out my rhythm for it. And surprisingly, my braking point for this corner is actually the end of this white curb on the left hand side. So this here is my braking point. Now it may seem like it's way too fucking soon, but bear in mind we can see a 50-meter marker board over there. The reason my braking point is here is so that I can get the car slowed down and carry 3rd gear through the left-hand corner. Now I'm not going to be positioned all the way over to the left-hand side of the track. I'm going to be about car width in, and I'm basically aiming sort of towards the end of the curb on the right-hand side as I'm slowing the car down, and I'll eventually get it down to 3rd gear, and then around about the end of the curb I can really tuck it in, and then once I'm in this position I know that I can go flat out in 3rd gear out of this corner, no problem. So braking as early as I may appear to do allows me to go into this corner in a higher gear and exit the corner in a much higher speed, okay? It also reduces any chance of running wide, and that's a key point. Okay, now we're into the last 1, 2, 3, 4 corners, and all of these are horrible, tricky corners for this car. This car doesn't like, well, that's one of them, but it starts off with a blind corner. So what I would say here is I'm on the brakes just about the crest of the hill. We've got the 150 marker board on the right of us. We've got a bit of concrete here on the right, which I'm kind of using as like a warning marker. So like, get ready to brake, get ready to brake, get ready to brake, brake at the start of the curb. Again, that may seem too soon, but you don't want to be really hard on the brakes into this corner, because if you are, you're then going to be wiggling. Your car's going to be unbalanced. You're not then going to get it slowed down in time for the left-hand corner. So brake about the start of the curb to begin with, and then see how far you can push it. Now for this corner, ideally 3rd gear, so we're looking at 2 downshifts, maybe 3 if we go up to 6th gear. I'm teetering between 2nd and 3rd gear in this corner at the moment. Ideally though, I want to take it in 3rd, and I want to end up with positioning the car over here. So if your car is anywhere over to the right of where I am now, wrong button, which one's change view? That one. Yeah, so if your car is anywhere further over to the right than mine is now, you've braked too late. Now, braking late and fast downshifting isn't going to help you here, because you need the car to be balanced in this corner so that the car is balanced in the next corner, because you should now be flat out, get over to the left, and flat out again through this right-hander. And if you don't believe me that it can be done, it can, but you've got to get the left-hander right first. Now we're heading to the final 2 corners. Now, I personally have been practicing a lot braking on the inside of this corner, because chances are people are going to go for overtakes here. So I worked out a braking point for this corner if I'm up the inside. And to be honest, it works if you're on the normal racing line as well, over on the right. So my braking point is the end of this curb that's on the left hand side here. Now again, you may think that this is way too soon for this corner. You don't believe me, Raymond? Well, you're just gonna have to fucking try it, aren't you? Yeah, so if you brake at this point, you may find that you slow down before you get to the corner. You slow down too much. Don't brake later. It isn't going to help you. Brake at this point, but come off the brakes. And the reason I say don't brake later is because your car position around this next corner is critical. Right? It is very important. So whether you are on the inside defending or on the outside on the normal racing line, you want to get your car positioned, slowed down and positioned so you are here. If you are not here, you're potentially coming into this corner too fast, you're out of position, and you're going to make the next corner harder for yourself, and you don't want to make the next corner harder for yourself. So you're going to sacrifice the exit of this corner and get over to the left if you can, and then into the right hander. Don't turn in too soon, don't take too much curb, it will spin you, and be very careful of the wall on the exit of the corner. Right. Blah blah blah, yeah, blah blah blah. SGP taking the piss. Right. Now for the gears as well, don't change gear too late. On the rev counter, whichever view you use, change gear, upshifts as it's above the gear number. The car's fast enough and will be balanced enough, and you won't waste fuel. Okay, so it is 7th gear. I'm getting 2 down there, so it is down 4. Okay. So we're going to go flat out, flat out, slow down at where the track splits away. It's not frantic, it's not unbalanced. So it'll be down 2. Flat out. Brake at the end of the curb. And it is hard on the brakes as well. Sacrifice the exit. Don't take too much curb. Don't spin into the pits. Okay, white line going across the track. We're going to end up down 1. Crest of the hill, over to the right, end of the curb, down 2, don't change gear, turn in at the end of the curb, upshift over the gear number, flat out, turn in at the end of the curb, flat out, brake 2 car lengths before the end of the yellow. Down 3 on that occasion. Down 2, 5th gear. Get ready to go down 2 more. 3rd gear. Brake at the curb, or end of the curb on the left. You don't need a lot of brake, but it gives you plenty of time to get it slowed down for the corner. I'm going to do 2nd gear in this one this time, so I'm going to go down 3. See, the car's a little more twitchy. Brake at the end of the curb. You don't need 1st gear. Do not go 1st gear there. You only need to go down 2 from 4th to 2nd. Corner cut my arse. Okay, we're going to go up to 6th this time. So down 2. Over the crest of the hill. Turn in. End of the curb on the brakes. And we're hard on the brakes. And we're spinning. Now we're spinning because we took too much curb on the right hand side on the way round the corner. I don't really want to take that much curb. This isn't the view I usually use, so that's my excuse. Okay, end of the curb on the right, turn in. Flat out. You can get it up to 7th gear there and then you can come down 4. It's much more balanced. So it's like down here, you could if you want keep it in sync, but there's no point, you're just wasting fuel. And the car isn't quite as balanced through the corner. Had a wiggle in the middle of that. The speed's different. So you might as well go to 7th, save a bit of fuel, you're still going to go as quick. Down 2. Don't get on the power too soon. Steve F1 could do a better video, cheeky bastard. So much more stable through there in 3rd, flat out, brake at the end of the curb, and we'll stay off that throttle until we're right by the curb. Now what I do want to show as well is the amount of steering angle that I'm going to be using. Because I am aware that that is something that people have struggled with a little bit. So on the next lap I will do that. Crest of the hill, turn in, straighten it up. Ah right, okay, lift off before you hit the brakes. It balances the car a little more. And you can lift off quite early as well if you want. Turn in at the end of the curve. Flat out, let's get it up to 7th. Down 4. Clip the apex. Hard on the throttle. He said hard on. Okay, turn in just before the end of the curve. Down 2, flat out, down 2. So making it as simple as possible, down 2. But the thing is, if you don't change up gears at the right point, the downs will be wrong for you, down 2. So if you're extending the gears, you're burning fuel, wasting fuel, you're not going faster, you're unbalancing the car, and you're out of rhythm. Down 2. Get ready to straighten up the steering at the apex there. As soon as you're at the apex, you want to be coming off the steering if you can. Okay, it's change view. Right, look at the amount of steering angle. 45 degrees, just less. Nowhere near 45. Went up an extra gear there. Still not more than 45. Still nowhere near 45 degrees, that is. Still nowhere near 45 degrees. Hairpin, been over 45 degrees. So that's one time so far, been more than 45 degrees. So if you're steering more than 45 degrees, don't. You've got no grip doing that. Still no more than 45 degrees. That was nearly 45 degrees. 90 degrees, alright. Put me off now, you bastard. Right, the sound steering lock, we're using the hairpin. A little bit more than previous. I'm out of position though. Even the last corner, I'll fuck the degrees off. Left hand at 12 or right hand at 12. Not quite 12 o'clock. So making sure that we're not steering too much, and it makes a massive difference. You don't need to steer loads with this car. Not quite 12 o'clock. Now in the final couple of corners I didn't get it right on the last lap because I was talking degrees. But let's see how much we use in the final couple of corners. So that's about 12 o'clock, gone deep though. Flat out, not quite 12 o'clock. Just beyond. So now I'm going to steer how the amount I've seen some people steering. We'll see what the difference is like, if I can do it. Listen to that screaming. Now, okay, I'm getting round the corners at the moment, but holy shit, it's slow, and I've got no grip. I mean, we don't need to steer this much. That's horrifying. Now, I can imagine why some people might do this and think that it works. It really doesn't. Trust, it does not. Are you ready? Let's go! Now, it might not look like this is overheating the tyres. Fuck it is. Oh, brake late. Oh, it's sideways. So once you start adding braking late, way too much steering, questionable downshifts, it becomes horrible. It's just wrong. Whoa. Rear end wanted to go then. So it doesn't need anywhere near that amount of steering. So yeah, don't do it. It's so much smoother and actually more enjoyable. I mean, I've pretty much just destroyed the front tyres there, but by not steering too much, I'm still going to be able to do a decent lap time. I mean, I've got low fuel now as well, so... But it's just look how much more smooth, stable and quicker it is to steer less and to brake at the right sort of points. Bit wide. As soon as I noticed I was a bit wide, instead of going flat out through the left-hander, I just stayed off the throttle a little bit. Tyres are hurting. That's why I can hear the tyres squealing there. Normally they wouldn't, but they're squealing because they're still hurt from the previous lap. So, I mean, I can imagine if you tried doing 22 laps with that kind of steering angle, oh, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. Okay. Right, what I will say is there any corners? Beat my time with a Group 2? Good luck. Oh dear. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean SGP's right there. If I got a Group 2 and tuned it up, I'd go faster. But that's not what this is for. Right, if there's any other corners that anyone's struggled with so far, let me know quickly before I disappear. Twilight on messaging because he's got his notepad and pen out. To be fair, that's why I've done it before the practice session tonight, in the hope that anyone that manages to see this is going to be helped for the practice session this evening. Right. So, Right, not a comment there about any how else anyone's struggling with. Right, well hopefully that's helped a few people regarding this track. So I know I struggled before I got into the rhythm of things like I showed there. It is a tricky track because of the blind corners, but that's where it is so important really to find those braking points. And as I mentioned as I was doing the first lap around, I was saying this may seem too soon for this corner, but in actual fact it works. And okay, the way that I'm showing, I'm not showing a way of do this and you'll be the fastest person around here that's ever been. No, do this and you will be able to stay on the track at a very good speed, and then you can build from that. There's no way you can come onto this track not really knowing it and expect to go fast. It's not going to happen. But once you've practiced it, you have to get into that, okay, can I do consistent lap times without going off? Follow these tips and you will. Once you've done that, then you can try going that little bit quicker through the corners, taking the brakes off a little bit earlier where you might feel you can. And what will happen is, when you start going off the track, you've gone beyond the limit. Right. I'm going to bugger off now so I can go and get my league practice done. So have a good one everybody, and I shall see you all again soon.